Thanks. No. This is something different.
Well, we're derailed the jail, but it looks like we haven't quite got that derailed.
You had two.
We have a much more serious problem tonight, and that involves Ravenna Township, about 10 miles from here. What they want to do is start a process out there called hydraulic fracking. And normally what they do when they frack is they just go ahead and drill straight down. Well, that's not really too much of a problem. But what they want to do now is instead of going just straight down, they go L-shaped. And what that does is cause the deep inner part of the earth so much turmoil and conflict that it can sour the water supply. So you have a potential out here of, for anybody that has a well, your water is going to go completely sour and rancid. When you turn on the tap, instead of getting clear water, you're going to get brown water. When there'll be so many problems from this that you're talking about roads tonight with heavy trucks going back and forth, you're going to have quite a few more problems with your roads, because that's what comes to and fro where this well site's going to be. It's going to be somewhere on the Swanson Pickle Farm. I don't know exactly where they plan on drilling it, but that's going to be the area where it's going to be. Once this happens, there are so many things that people don't know about, they don't want you to know about. The fracking industry has gone to great lengths to have legislation in their favor, so nobody can really find out about it. We had to start digging for it. There's enough people out there now that are trying to go ahead and fight it. There's websites set up to go ahead and fight it. There's going to be people protesting in Lansing. There's legislation that's going to be introduced saying, look, we're not quite sure that this is safe, so at least have a moratorium on it for a while. So it's we just wanted to bring it to your attention. It's something that you need to bring to your state legislature and state senate's attention and say, look, go slow with this. We don't have to have it overnight. There are far too many dangers with it, and I'm sure none of you want to wake up one morning and say, okay, I turned the water on and say, how come it's brown? And you're never going to get good water again once this happens. It causes the problem of not being able to get good water. Like they had out at Nugent Sand property close to Lake Michigan. All those people had well water. The Nugent Sand came in based on their mining. They trashed their water, so they had to bring in city water. So how much does it cost to bring in city water out here? And then the other aspect of it is, are you ever going to really be able to get that clean? Because if the water in the ground is garbage and you bring it up to try to purify it, you've got all these chemicals in it from fracking, are you ever really going to be able to get that clean? How many health problems are going to be caused by that? And all you have to do is look to Dalton Township and all the chemical companies out there, White Lake Township, Montague Township, Hooker Chemical, Story Chemical, all those chemical companies, that even pales in comparison to the fracking. We could have the whole eastern part of the county, part of Ottawa County, and the counties to the east damaged by this. And the fracking industry could care less because all they're interested in is the money. And are we going to get any of that money out here? We're not going to get any of the money in the townships, the cities, the counties, anything. It all goes in the fat cat's hip pocket. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention, and hopefully we'll be successful in getting a lot more people involved in this, and at least just to have people knowledgeable about what's going on. And that's the purpose for us coming out here tonight.
What's the name of your organization?
We really don't have an organization. We're part of Occupy Muskegon, but letsbanfracking.org is what we will pass these out later on, and it goes into some dangers of fracking and what we're trying to be done statewide to stop it, because it's a real dangerous thing. And I've been involved in politics for quite a while. I usually fight every tax increase that comes up. I don't care what it's for. As far as the roads, they've got the money. Just go ahead and spend it wisely. Like you said, 6 cents on every gallon of gas. We'll put it in the roads. That's all you have to do. You got the money right there. So, but this right here is 10 times, if not 100 times, more serious than any tax increase or anything I ever worked on. Because without water, without good solid water, your farm industry goes to pot. You're not going to grow blueberries out here, so you don't have to worry about some trucks on that road. Your farming industry goes to pot. Your water's no good. It's just an endless cycle of things that can happen. The whole area around the part of the county could be barren desert.
Did you attend that informational meeting last week that they had?
We went to one in Montague. They had one in...
Oh, you're talking about the one at the college.
Yeah,
we were there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how did that go?
We have a videotape. You can see it. You don't have to take anybody's word for it. You can go see it online. I'd like to tell you a little bit about it.
I'm all set then. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
If it's okay.
Yeah.
My name is Dan Mills. North Muskegon. And yeah, and I took a videotape. It's hard to know exactly what the truth is these days, it seems like. When I was a kid, we had newspapers that competed, and even each newspaper had reporters who were in competition, and now all the newspapers are advanced publication. They call it MLive here, but you take a look at advanced publication, the 2 board members and their brothers out in the East Coast, and what's important to them isn't naturally important to us. You know, and so the MLive is a marketing tool and it promotes big business. And there's no bigger business, of course, than the oil industry. And the DEQ is paid by the oil industry now, too. And that came up at the meeting this last week. The DEQ visited, and about 500 people were there with questions. And one of the questions was, how is it that the DEQ can propose, that, you know, say that they're regulating the industry when back in 2008, before the big crisis, they were telling MLive, quote, that they were neutered, that they didn't have the funds to run their department. And the answer was that now they charge the agency or whatever it is that they're regulating, and so they are paid by the oil industry. And that's how they're able to keep 25 geologists on staff. Now, you can see maybe a conflict of interest there. Besides even considering the lobbyists and the way that all that big money is in politics these days, the oil industry makes sure that the politicians jump through the hoops, and the DEQ is no exception. Now, the Halliburton loophole is something I want you to know about, and that is something that is not reported in the paper. It's easy to remember. It's easy to look up on Google, Halliburton loophole. You see a nice New York Times article about it. Halliburton loophole exempts the fracking industry from the Clean Water Act. It exempts it from the Great Lakes contract. The Great Lakes contract restricts the amount of water that somebody like a bottling company could take out of the ground. They take the water out of the ground, everybody's wells goes dry. Well, the fracking industry is exempt from that, and so they can pipe millions of gallons of water with the chemicals added underground. Horizontal fracking, they can break, and they can go farther and break again and frack. Millions and millions of gallons of the water comes out, goes underground, and never to be used again because it's contaminated with the chemicals. The DEQ says that they regulate the chemicals that are piped under there, toxic waste and stuff like that. But the truth is, Halliburton loophole exempts that too. If they just claim that it's a trade secret that the chemicals are using, they can pipe anything under there. They don't even get the list until after it's done. And then there's no verification. And this was, I had to ask that question special. How do you verify, DEQ, that what's on that list is accurate? And they have no verification. They just take whatever the oil industry gives them, and then they give them a bill, and they get paid for regulating the oil industry. Anyway, so the Halliburton loophole. Now, the oil industry will claim that fracking is safe, that they haven't had accidents and stuff. But the thing is, they're defining the fracking industry as just what's going on here. And if you have an earthquake, they say, well, that wasn't related. But they're not talking about the leaking around the head of the well. They're not talking about the fires. They're not talking about chemical spills or the trucking accidents and stuff like that, which are so prevalent. Excuse me, because it's unregulated. You know what it's like when you have unregulated third world countries. You know, the oil industry goes into those little countries and they just rape the land. That's what the oil industry is doing right here in Pennsylvania, South Dakota. Roger is going to mention what's going on in South Dakota. And it's starting here. The first Muskegon permit is on wellhead restricted area. Ravenna is a wellhead restricted area. Everybody uses the wells. Doesn't make any difference. The oil industry can go in there and frack. Anyway, do you think that they need to tell you if they frack in your neighbor's property? No, they're exempt from that. Do they have to tell you if they have an accident? No, they don't have to. They're exempt from everything. There's no regulation on the fracking industry. It's all exempt, Halliburton loophole. And so we will have stuff to pass out, and we do have a petition that we could stick around a little bit. We're here late because we were out at Ravenna tonight. But here we can stay maybe, and if you'd be interested, maybe put your name on a petition. We're asking to have this on the ballot in Michigan, and maybe have some kind of regulation in Michigan. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Roger Nye. I work as a citizen journalist for the Occupy Muskegon news site, which is unfortunately down right now. But I have a blog of my own, and when the site is back up, I intend to be posting on it quite regularly about the fracking issue. I've already done one photo shoot in Ravenna, just for some preliminary research. A few things you should know about the well in Ravenna is if it is drilled, it is within this wellhead protected area. The Department of Environmental Quality is not giving any weight to that fact to speak of. They can go ahead and drill even though it's within the protected area. They will watch the depletion of the groundwater. If it affects any local ponds, other bodies of water, Crockett Creek, then they would have to take some sort of action to stop that from happening. We were unable to pin them down as to any sort of action they would take if the neighbors' wells run dry. That's another issue altogether, apparently. The DEQ speaks a language of its own. You can go to a presentation by them, you have to listen very, very carefully. There's one thing they said at least twice, is that there are no guarantees, and that's the message I took from this. I don't know why they had to send 8 armed law enforcement officers to this presentation, but they did. And as we know, they only have 25 geologists statewide to monitor these wells, so they're not going to be on top of it all the time. My personal interest in this is that I plan to write a series of articles about this, publicize them, be as objective as I can, given my point of view that I am very concerned about the dangers of fracking, and basically let the facts speak for themselves. If you will look at the March 2013 issue of National Geographic, which is available at the Ravenna Library. It's also, this article is also available on the internet. You will see what the effects have been of the oil and gas boom in, it's North Dakota, Dan. North Dakota, western North Dakota. Yes, there are jobs created, and there are some people who get fantastically rich from this. But there are other factors that you have to consider. You may have a, if this well in Ravenna Township should be successful and it starts a boom in this area, you could have the population multiplying several times. People flooding in from out of state with no commitment to this area, basically, to work for a few years until the oil or gas plays out. You may need pipelines laid all over the place. And the other wells would deplete the groundwater further, of course. Just a few other things I wanted to mention. The pollution from the groundwater basically originates from leaking well casings. But it could also arise from the fact that various layers of sedimentary rock are being punched through, basically, and the leakage can come from outside of the wellhead casing. And a few things that are considerations are, number one, does the fire department, other emergency services serving your area have the manpower, the expertise, and the equipment to deal with wellhead accidents? I mention this because the application for Ravenna Township specifically mentions that they do intend to, expect to encounter hydrogen sulfide gas, it's H2S, which is a highly toxic gas, heavier than air, which can kill people and kill vegetation as well. And in small amounts it could just make people sick. In large amounts it can kill them. And are they planning to have local schools have drills in terms of being prepared to shelter in place should there be some sort of accident? Will Mercy Hospital emergency room personnel have some sort of handle as to what's in the fracking fluid if there's a wellhead accident and drilling people are brought in covered with fracking fluid? There are all sorts of considerations here. We're talking about change in the way of life. If this search for oil and gas around here is successful, you may not recognize this place in 20 years, if that happens. I'm just saying what could happen. If we're all lucky, maybe we'll just trip a dry well. I don't know, but just things to think about. Thank you very much.
One of the meetings that I was at on fracking, the conversation came up that the thing that we could do as townships and residences, pass ordinances restricting the trucks going in and out. And that's the only way to stop that, is to pick out a different avenue to stop them, because you won't stop them from fracking, but you could restrict the roads, and buildings and different things that they'll need to advance. So,
does the insurance policy cover this?
he wants to change it down.
From what I've heard, I mean, this is very early in the stages of all of this. Reach out to others. The MTA is a good resource. The website, the Michigan Township Association website, there is, I believe it's called MTA Community. Anyone can join. I'm a member, and it's kind of like a Facebook for public officials, so to speak, but there's been some discussion posts that have been started. Fracking is one of them. Reach out to all of those. That would be my best recommendation, because there's really there have not, to my knowledge, not been any lawsuits, at least to any municipalities yet. I have heard there may be, some coming, but that's my interest, is protecting the financial, well-being of our clients. And if it does come to something where there's a decision that was made, by a board, that's where we would be protecting the financial interests of the township. So that would be my recommendation at this time. Maybe reach out to other communities, but I think the ordinance creation is probably the number one thing that I've heard.
Isn't it true that it takes about millions of gallons of water too?
I'm glad to know you were there. There is the statewide ballot proposal, and that has a chance of actually working. And so the idea is to get enough signatures here before fall to get that on the ballot.
They're saying 2.41 million gallons for this one particular well.
Per frac, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And then they do it again and again and again. Yeah, and that water's gone forever.
I was in a small town this weekend called Elmira, New York, and they proposed fracking there, and the town just bloomed. I mean, there was housing built, and they passed an ordinance and would not allow the fracking, and the beautiful waterfalls are still there, I'm happy to say, and the town is like a ghost town. I mean, most of those buildings are now vacant.
They will be soon anyway, yeah, right?
But the waterfalls were beautiful. It's a shame.
It's kind of like strip mining. They sell it like it's going to be really beneficial to the community. They come in there, they strip mine, then they leave, and when you're done, it's like, well, everybody else leaves too.
Yeah.
It's like you can't go, except for the people that are stuck there, because otherwise, where are they going to go? So it's you're taking a nice area and trashing it, and then leaving it behind, and the people with money, they can go wherever they want, but everybody else is just like, yeah, we're stuck here. So it's really not a nice way to treat the environment. And it's not like we can't get oil through other means. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's very
Thank you.
interesting. Thank you.